a modest proposal for preventing the children of poor people in Ireland from being a burden to their parents or country, and for making them beneficial to the public. But, its title apart, in many ways a modest proposal was the prototype of the modern policy pamphlet, of a type familiar from present-day think tanks the world over. The pamphlet proceeded in the most measured language from diagnosis to statistical analysis to policy recommendation. Ireland was then subject to very serious poverty and malnutrition, the author noted. Careful calculation revealed that the number of new births far exceeded the level required to replenish the population. No work existed in handcrafts or agriculture for the mothers, with the result that the traveller to Dublin found the streets, the roads, and cabin doors crowded with beggars of the female sex, followed by 3, 4, or 6 children, all in rags, and importuning every passenger for an alms. These mothers, instead of being able to work for their honest livelihood, are forced to employ all their time in strolling to beg sustenance for their helpless infants, who as they grow up either turn thieves for want of work, or leave their dear native country. But, the author said, there was a ready-made solution, then as often now imported from America. I have been assured by a very knowing American of my acquaintance in London that a young, healthy child well nursed is at a year old a most delicious, nourishing, and wholesome food, whether stewed, roasted, baked, or boiled, and I make no doubt that it will equally serve in a fricassee or a ragout. Not only were 1-year-old children good food, they had other uses as well. Those who are more thrifty, as I must confess the times require, may flay the carcass, the skin of which, artificially dressed, will make admirable gloves for ladies and summer boots for fine gentlemen. Jonathan Swift's pamphlet is one of the most brilliant sustained satires in the English language, a masterpiece of moral indignation which effortlessly ridiculed targets ranging from the new vogue for statistics to contemporary attitudes towards the poor. But the economic and social facts he described have never been questioned. This was, precisely, the island into which Edmund Burke was born, on Arran Quay by the River Liffey in Dublin, on New Year's Day 1730. Dublin then was a place of extremes, in which enormous wealth coexisted with desperate poverty and, frequently, starvation. Nor were these evils confined to the city. In an essay of 1748, Burke and some friends indignantly described the condition of the rural poor at that time. Money is a stranger to them. As for their food, it is notorious they seldom taste bread or meat. Their diet in summer is potatoes and sour milk. In winter, they are still worse, living on the same root made palatable by a little salt and accompanied by water. As for what they wore, their clothes so ragged, nay, it is no uncommon sight to see 6 children run quite naked out of a cabin, scarcely distinguishable from a dunghill. Fortunately, the Burkes themselves lived somewhat more comfortably. Edmund was the third of 4 surviving children, a sometimes neglected position in a family. It may have been so here, for his brothers Garrett and Richard were eldest and youngest, while his elder sister Juliana was the only girl. The Burkes were likely of Anglo-Norman, Old English extraction, originally Catholic and not part of the new English ascendancy which took control of Ireland in the 17th century. Edmund's father, Richard, probably born in County Cork in the southwest, had long since left the land for the city. He was an attorney, a Protestant, and a self-made man who had risen in the law through hard work, described by Edmund's friend Richard Shackleton as of middling circumstances, fretful temper, and punctual honesty. His wife, Mary Nagle, was also from County Cork, but otherwise she could hardly have been more different. A Catholic countrywoman from a genteel but much reduced family of landowners. The Nagles were not merely Catholics but Jacobites, who had supported the claims to the throne of James II and his successors after the Revolution of 1688, which brought the Protestant William of Orange to the throne as William III. 40 years later, most of their land, and much of their dignity, had gone. By the 1720s, Ireland was in name a country, indeed a kingdom, but in reality an English dominion. The functions of state were controlled by Protestants, generally